There are times where I lie awake at night contemplating what kind of music I would make if I was even remotely talented enough to be able to actually, write music and commit to recording it. Some days I think of the campiest, most flamboyant power pop fantasy music known to man. And other days I fully embrace the fury and demonic madness that hides behind this fresh-faced, charming exterior. This debut album from Changeling is the demonic madness. This is the music I wish I could write, and I'm absolutely in awe of what I've been listening to here. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, my name is Ian, this is Rhyme Signatures, and we are once again opening the lid on the best new releases in prog, rock, and metal. Right, so this may be a debut album, but this is hardly a first rodeo. The main brains behind this ambitious project, Tom Fountainhead Geldschlager, whose name you might remember from such bands as Obscura and Belphegor, amongst several others. Not familiar with any of those? That's fine. All you need to know is that Fountainhead is a fountain of licks, tricks, riffs, and songwriting excellence. But he has truly brought his S-tier material to this self-titled debut. Coming along for the ride though, we've a smattering of standout talent. Ex-Fear Factory drummer Mike Heller, Aaron McSporran from Viparsi on the fretless bass, and Florian Magnus Meyer, better known professionally as Morian from the band Alkaloid, is on vocal duties. But to truly list all the talent involved on this album might take a little while, as there is a whole ass orchestra playing backup duties here, as well as several high-profile guest appearances from musicians across the various death and heavy metal landscapes. You've got Bill Hudson from Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Jason Goebel, who you might remember as playing guitars on Cynic's groundbreaking debut album of Focus, James Jordan of Black Crown Initiate and recent replacement of Zenoir of Nia Bliviscaris pops in for some spoken word stuff, and there's just an endless supply of other people lending their talents to what is already a tightly packed and impressive display. But okay, Ian, we get it. This album has the ingredients. It has the ability on paper to be something truly extraordinary. But does it work? Do all of these cooks surely not spoil the broth just a teensy tiny bit? Well, no. I'm very excited to be able to tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. Changeling's debut album is one of those few things that is making Death Heaven's lonely people with power sweat just a little bit in its comfortable seat at the top of the pile. Okay, let's not bury the lead here. This album is phenomenal. Start to finish. This is precisely the kind of record that answers the question, what if death metal wasn't just brutal but beautiful? Not just technical but theatrical. It's the musical equivalent of an occult opera staged inside a collapsing cathedral, on fire. It's weird, it's wild, it's orchestral, it's grotesque, and it might be the best avant-garde metal I've heard since Orgone's Pleroma. Changeling crashes open the gates that Orgone erected, dragging an orchestra behind them, blood caked underneath their demonic claws and a cruel and calculated wickedness in their eyes. This is one of those rare albums where everything just clicks. The weight, the weirdness, the atmosphere, the ambition, and the balance between it all absolutely immaculate. At no point does it feel overly self-indulgent or overwritten. Every screech of the violin strings, every blast beat, every detuned scream and fluidic bassline feels expertly placed. Okay, so let's start with the mountain peaks, because this album's got some long boys saved up in its back half. 7th and 9th tracks of Abyss and Abdication are where Changeling spreads their wings into full progressive grandeur. These songs unfold like a sermon being recited in the pits of hell itself, filled with cryptic intrigue and controlled chaos. There's some intense complexity here, particularly in the guitars and the bass, but it's always in service of atmosphere, mood, and narrative. Nothing flashy merely for the sake of it, or for just showing off. It's heavy in all the right ways, with tension and elegance twisted into a labyrinth of orchestrated power. And then we come to Anathema, the 17-minute long closer, which is in contention for the best closing track I've heard all year. No exaggeration, it's a towering, shape-shifting monolith of pain and power. There are moments in this track, particularly the orchestral breaks collapsing into shrieking growls, that made me just put my head into my hands and just breathe. Touch points here obviously include the aforementioned orgone, but also the epic tracks off Aquilas's Bellum 2, you know, my album of the year from last year. It has that very similar atmospheric swagger about it, but with a greater emphasis on cinematic flair and real urgency to its sounds. It also kind of made me smirk when I realised that the 3 best tracks on the album, the 3 longest tracks as well and all that, all begin with the letter A. Truly a AAA experience, and make no mistake about it. But don't for a second think that this album is only about the epics. There's plenty of shorter form songs on Changeling that are equally as jaw-dropping. Take the first principal track of Instant Results. Strap in, hold on, and try not to lose your fillings. It is a tight, focused blaster that still manages to feel cinematic. The riffage is ferocious, the drums are lightning fast, and the orchestral flourishes baked into the spine of the album overall never feel tacked on or overcooked. The balance here is sublime. Falling in Circles and World, What World continue this assault, showing the band's mastery of short-form songwriting that still feels massive. These are the tracks that punch you square in the jaw and leave you grinning, dazed, and bruised. Every note feels deliberate, every riff a memorable moment, like a landmark statement from the band. Even the interstitial songs on the album, the first track of Introject, midpoint Metanoia interlude, and late game Cathexis interlude, are all brilliantly placed as either scene setters or atmosphere stirrers, each of them landing at precisely the right time, lasting just long enough to let you catch your breath and refocus your mind before Changeling winds up another musical haymaker to knock you through walls of solid concrete with their sheer power. But what truly elevates Changeling is the use of orchestra. It's not just slapped on grandeur, it's integrated, it matters. The strings are passionate, the brass is mournful, the arrangements never fight the metal, they fully embrace and complement it. It feels like the ghost of Beethoven is just throwing hands in a mosh pit at times. There's the occasional use of space and silence, the way there's swells and pauses in the music giving way to chugs and riffs. It's all rather too much at times and results in me feeling like I need to have a lie down. So if you know this channel and you know my appreciation for this kind of music, you probably got a pretty reasonable idea of where I'm going to be going with my reservations on this album. It's a lot of a lot, and at times it can almost feel like you're drowning in too much of a good thing. Changeling is not an easy album. There are so many elements all swirling together, all vying for your attention at the same time, and it can often feel overwhelming. Now, I don't know how many of you watching this saw the 2008 movie adaptation of Speed Racer with its insane, dizzying visual flair and style. Yeah, I ended up with a headache after watching that in the cinema, and I can imagine that Changeling will have a similar impact on a lot of people who choose to plunge their heads into the madness and go from start to finish without pausing for a break. I think that anyone who does appreciate this kind of avant-garde death metal is at this point experiencing how much time and attention this kind of music demands from you. Even we as progressive rock and metal aficionados have our limits to our patience, and I won't deny that Changeling did on occasion test my patience. I knew that what I was listening to was extraordinary. I knew how well arranged it was, how well performed it was, but all the same, there were times where I wished the band would maybe, I don't know, apply the brakes just a teensy tiny little bit. It's a solid hour of music, so it's on the longer end of the spectrum, but not as long as some albums that play in a similar field. It's shorter than Orgone's Pleroma, its nearest touching point in sound and mood, but I felt that that album played with pacing and structure ever so slightly better than Changeling does, so it feels like that was the shorter of the two of these albums. This is absolutely not the kind of record to introduce you to this world of extremely technical avant-garde metal either. This is a challenging record, and it will scare some people off who aren't accustomed to this sort of intensity of sound. If, however, you're a complete musical psychopath like me, then you'll see beyond the intimidating depth and complexity and see an album that has got years worth of content to digest and enjoy. One more tiny little thing though, what the hell is with the fade out on the second song? Seriously? I thought something was wrong with my stream at first. Fade outs are a big no. You know, I don't like them enough as it is, but don't do it that early. Come on guys, don't play with my heart like this. Light expands, so, what else can I possibly say about Changeling's self-titled debut album? It's becoming clearer and clearer to me that as I get older, my music tastes are getting more extreme, stranger, and harder to fully satisfy. Now, I listen to a lot of music in my day-to-day life. There's a lot of it I simply don't get the chance to talk about on here because it could be down to a number of reasons. It could be down to time constraints, I'm just one guy with a full-time day job after all. Sometimes it might be down to apathy. Sometimes it might be down to distaste. Sometimes it's all of the above. But albums like Changeling demand me to get off my fat ass, think hard about what I want to say, and make one of my silly little review videos for your dubious watching pleasure. I felt such a strong emotional resonance to this album that to keep my mouth shut about this one would have been an exercise in complete futility. Now, it has taken me a couple of weeks to accurately figure out how to talk about this one, but that really is more testament to how dense this music is, how complex it is, and just how much is going on. This isn't just a great debut, this is a landmark release. It is bold, cohesive, emotionally gripping and rich in atmosphere. It's the kind of album I want to evangelize about from the mountaintops until my throat is hoarse. So if you love your death metal with an orchestral streak, if you crave narrative and nuance amidst your blast beats and chugging riffs, if you, like me, want more than just heaviness, you want vision, atmosphere and craft, then Changeling isn't just recommended, it is essential. I snuck myself a cheeky little purchase of the vinyl on this one, and I can't recommend enough that you also grab a physical copy. It's a violent expression of some of the boldest and most creative sounds in modern death metal, and the only true contender this year so far to Death Heaven's current iron grip on my Album of the Year title. This is all, of course, guys, just my opinion, so if you loved Changeling, if you hated Changeling, please talk to me about your experience with the album in the comments down below. Please do drop me a thumbs up if you like the video, please do tell your friends about little old me, and please do throw me a subscription if you've been enjoying my content so far. But until next time, guys, as always, keep your rhyme signatures pretty odd.